here. So if I was getting ready to strike a baseball, or if I had a ball very high on the tee where it was right out in front of my face, right out in front of my eye, when I learn the golf swing on this plane, guess what? Look at that trail arm as I do that. Hey everyone! In this video we're going to talk about the best drill for the trail arm in the backswing. And at the end of the video I'm going to share with you a secret move that's going to help you use that trail arm more efficiently, so stay tuned. But before we get to that, I've really enjoyed bringing this free content to you, and our YouTube community, it's growing, and that's exciting. And I want it to continue to grow. And the way you can help me with that is by smashing that like button, subscribing to my YouTube channel, which just alerts you when I have new videos available for you to watch, and last but not least, comment. These things help in more ways than you know. So as always, let's start by defining the trail arm. So the trail arm is the arm that is furthest away from the target as I'm standing over a shot getting ready to strike it. So for me as a left-handed golfer, as I stand over this golf ball and get ready to strike it, my arm that's furthest away from the target would be my left arm. So my left arm is the trail arm. And for a right-handed golfer, it would be the opposite. I would stand here to strike a ball. Again, the arm furthest away from the target is my right arm. So that would be my trail arm. Now I've said this in other videos, and I have quite a few videos about the trail arm, and here's why. In the high 90 percentile of people who step on my lesson tee do not use their trail arm the right way. Today what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you a drill. If you're somebody who knows that trail arm is out of position, which we'll get to in just a second, I'm going to give you a drill that's going to help you to get that trail arm in a better position and strike more solid golf shots, and probably with more distance as well. So what are some of the swing faults that I see with the trail arm? A lot of what I see is people tucking. So this trail arm, it's more like you're starting a lawnmower. That trail arm is working behind you. Or like we've seen with Jack Nicklaus, that trail arm flies. So there's a checkpoint that I look for with the trail arm as I'm teaching a student. And that checkpoint is when they get to the top of the backswing is the trail elbow, my left elbow for a lefty, on the heel line. And what I find with most students is it navigates behind them. It gets too far behind them. And then they make this wonderful turn back to the golf ball, but guess what? Their arms and the club are stuck behind them. And so we all have heard that word stuck. It's been overused in golf and golf instruction ever since Tiger. So we know that's the swing fault. So now let's kind of get into a fix. And before we get into this fix, one thing that I want to mention here is obviously mobility has a lot to do with how somebody uses their trail arm. So here in Naples, Florida, more of a retired demographic, I have people who have had rotator, I've had frozen shoulders, shoulder surgeries, all kinds of things that I've seen. So the mobility of that shoulder will definitely affect how I can use it during the golf swing. But I say that very loosely because when I show you this drill, I probably have yet, even people, some of my worst students who have the worst shoulders or have been worked on the most and have very little mobility, when I show you this drill, I'm going to show you in a little bit, they can do it. One thing that I think makes it a challenge is that we're doing it bent over at a 45-degree angle, but there's more on that to follow. Okay, so what we're talking about here is the trail arm, getting it in that proper position, and how do we go about doing that? You know, mobility obviously has a little bit to do with that, and so we've got to be concerned about that. We've got to pay attention to that. We can't overlook it. But I heard from a very, very well-known instructor believes that the golf swing should be taught on this plane here. So if I was getting ready to strike a baseball, or if I had a ball very high on the tee where it was right out in front of my face, right out in front of my eye, when I learn the golf swing on this plane, guess what? Look at that trail arm as I do that. As I just take this club and I just swing it back on this flat plane where you see I have the club parallel to the ground, my trail arm gets in a wonderful position. Now, as I mentioned earlier, what makes it so hard for me to do that in a golf swing is that I'm starting from this position where I'm bent over at a 45-degree angle, or whatever angle it is. I'm just kind of throwing an angle out there. But I'm bent over, let's just say that. So I'm bent over as I start my golf swing, and so people see a ball that they want to hit, and they want to hit it with power, and they're bent over at 45 degrees, and from there I see all sorts of chaos with that trail arm. So again, let's go over this drill, and then I'm going to show you how we'll put it into use. And I think the best way to do this drill would be like in front of a mirror at home, if you can, if you're not going to hit your ceilings or hit the mirror or break any windows or lamps or anything like that. But definitely start inside in front, and all you want to do is just take that club and just put it so it's parallel to the ground. And then from there, all I'm really doing is I'm winding up like I'm getting ready to hit a baseball. And when I do that, I'll turn around so you can see it. Look at where that trail arm is. It's in a very good functional position for a golf swing. And then from there, I just bend over at a 45-degree angle. Hey, there's a great position in the backswing for me to strike a golf ball. So now let's kind of talk about it from a drill sense. So I would have you, get in a workout room, or if you have a mirror at home, somewhere where you can see, watch from face on yourself doing it. Watch how that trail arm works. Look from this angle into the mirror. Again, starting with the club parallel to the ground, I'm just taking it to the top as though I'm getting ready to swing at a fastball right down the middle. And most of us in our life have experienced, whether it was Little League or Squidgets baseball or playing wiffle ball in the front yard, so we kind of know how to move a baseball bat. And I think in this context, it helps in learning to use the trail arm. So drill-wise, what I would like to see you do, so you do some of that at home in front of a mirror, or in the gym in front of a mirror, and then you get out to the driving range. I would start with doing it without a golf ball, but then I would start to incorporate the ball. And the way that I would do that is I would just get set up the distance you normally would be, start with it right out here in front of me, again parallel to the ground, make my backswing. You can see the trail arm goes into a very nice position, so all I'm doing is just swinging that back almost on this flat horizontal plane, which I agree with the person that I heard that said this. I think golf would be much easier learned here, and then bend the person over 45 degrees or whatever amount that they're bent over to strike the golf ball. So starting here, swinging it back, bending over at 45, and then just tapping the ball out there. So that ball maybe flew 50 yards, 60 yards. That really doesn't matter. What the ball does, if you have a home studio, or you can do it indoors into a net, that would be great, because you won't be paying attention to the ball flight. You'll be more into what I call internal focus. So we're really focused on that trail arm and getting it in the right position through this drill. So let's do that one more time, just to give you a look at it. So I just get my spacing by starting with the club behind the ball, then I just lift it up here in front of me as if the ball was on a tee right in front of my face. I take it back as though I was going to strike that ball, bend over at a 45-degree angle, and then just tap. And that ball flew more like 100 yards, and it was struck much more solidly, much better than the first one. But again, I'm not really so much into the result as I am into getting this feeling of the trail arm working properly, being in the proper position. Okay, so as promised, it's time for that secret move that's going to help us get that trail arm in the proper position. And what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be knocking out two of the biggest swing faults that I see on my lesson tee day in and day out. We're going to be knocking them out together. And so we know the one, which I already mentioned and this whole video has been about, is the trail arm. But the other swing fault that I see is that people open the club face too much on the downswing. So they get to the top of the backswing, they start their downswing, and they're opening that club face. You can see how it's pointing more to the sky. And tour players, the first 6 inches of the downswing are actually closing it. And I saw somebody make a statement, and I agree wholeheartedly, that most golfers would benefit from a stronger club face. And so we're going to talk about that right now. And I have other videos that you can watch that talk about using this lead, which would be my right hand or my right wrist, to get the club in a strong position. I have plenty of videos about there. I even have one about the trail wrist and using that one to get the club in a strong position. But the one that I'm going to reference first is what I call a frisbee lead wrist. And so what I'm doing on the backswing is I'm curling up, just if I had a frisbee or a disc in my hand, I'm curling up that lead wrist. And that puts the club face in a very strong position, which I just mentioned, again, probably in the high 90 percentile of people who play golf would benefit from having a stronger club face, especially in the downswing. So as I frisbee that lead wrist, this secret move, or the thing that's really going to help you, is notice how my elbows start to come together. Look at what that trail elbow's doing. So when I see somebody with the trail arm or the trail elbow out of position, I see this lead wrist out of position, and I see the club face open, or I would refer to it as out of position. I guess we could argue about that a little bit, but for most people I would say that's out of position to strike a solid shot with distance, which I think most people are looking for. So again, the secret move is as I frisbee that wrist, and look for other videos that I talk about this in, notice that trail arm really starts to work closer to my other arm. And that's really good, strong, symmetrical arm structure at the top of my backswing. So as you're working on this, the third and final phase of this drill that I would have you do, remember, start inside in the gym in front of a mirror, face on, down the line, looking at the shape of your swing, looking at that trail arm, make sure you're doing it right. Come out to the driving range. Work on doing it well here, bending over at a 45-degree angle, tapping it, off the top of the tee, or just tapping that ball out there. The last thing I would make you aware of, and this would be the third priority, okay, is I would make you aware of when you take the club back, I've got that nice strong frisbee wrist. And the way you'll know that is your glove hand, if you wear a glove or if you have a watch on your trail arm, will be pointing back behind you, or you can see how you can probably read the Titleist on the back of my glove here as I'm pointing it back to you. Puts the club in a really strong position, bend over at 45-degree angle, and tap. So let's go through that one last time. Starting out here in front of me, taking it back, trail arm's in a good position, trail wrist is in a strong position, and then I'm just going to tap the ball off the tee. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. You now possess the best drill for the trail arm in the backswing, as well as being empowered with a secret move that's going to help you put that trail arm in a wonderful position, help you strike the ball more solid, and most likely with more distance. I have 2 more videos playing here right now. And remember, please like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and comment.